Hey guys, Yips here, coming out with another video, and this one is going to be about gearing in the next raid tier. Now, currently tier 20 is better than tier 21, so we will be using 4-piece tier 20, 2-piece tier 21 for the time being. I do expect it to be nerfed by Mythic Week, or maybe the second Mythic Week, simply because they did that to tier 19. They made it so the 4 set was unusable, so we were forced to go with tier 20. I expect the same thing to happen to tier 21, where tier 20 will be nerfed, and then we'll be moving into 4 set tier 21. However, that's not the case right now. We're going to be using 4 set tier 20, and then 2-piece tier 21, moving into the next raid tier, and then probably after that, again, going for the 4 set tier 21. Now, which pieces should you be getting next week? Probably the chest. I think the chest is probably one of the best tier pieces to get next week, as the current tier from tier 20, the chest does not have very good stats on it. This is a much better stat line, haste crit, than haste versatility. Plus, at a higher item level, the intellect bonus on a main piece will be great. Aside from chest, I would just recommend getting whatever other piece you can. Obviously, Titan Forge has a huge impact here, but, you know, legs, cape, shoulders, something like that would be very, very good, and even helmet to a point. Now, should you get 4-piece next week if the opportunity arises? Yes, I would go ahead and say yes, get your 4-piece next week, because there could be the opportunity that as soon as Mythic Week comes out, that this 4-piece tier 21 will be better. But for the time being, just make sure you get 2-piece, because you want to be using the tier 20 4-piece and the tier 21 2-piece. So that's kind of how you want to be going about next week with tier. Now, regarding legendaries, because legendaries will be being upgraded next week, a lot of people are going to be going for Soul of the Netherlord. I don't think this is the correct choice. I think Soul of the Netherlord is not the optimal legendary to get first. Reason being is it's an understated legendary. It doesn't have as much stats as it's supposed to, so when you upgrade it from 978 to 1000, you're not getting the full value of the stats. So I would recommend upgrading either the belt, Pride as, or helmet. The reason you would upgrade belt is just because it tends to be excellent in most situations. The additional shard gen is nice, it has decent stats, and it's a legendary that you can use in most situations. Pride as is an excellent progression legendary. The shield is amazing. 25% of your max health for 30 seconds cannot be undervalued. Plus, it's an overstated legendary, meaning you're going to get a lot more stats at 1000 item levels out of this legendary than anything else, so it's great to get. The last one, obviously helmet. If you can't use 2-piece, 4-piece, helmet is just a staple of Warlock. Affliction, it is by far the most valuable legendary. However, 2-piece, 4-piece does kind of overcome it, which is why it's overshadowed a lot. But if you just want to use 4-piece, helmet is going to be the legendary for you to upgrade. So I would recommend one of those 3. Personally, use whatever you like, but it won't make a huge difference in the end. I'll probably be upgrading either belt or Pride as. Now, after saying this, I guess the last thing for me to cover is what pieces of gear are you going to want to be looking to get from the bosses themselves. Now, there are a couple really good juicy bosses in here, but first I'm going to give you guys a pro tip. If you're in a mythic raiding guild that will kill a boss next week, do not coin that boss unless it is a GG boss for you, okay? Do not coin the first boss or the second boss, because most likely they will be very easy, and a lot of guilds will be killing them the first week of mythic. So save your coin for Mythic Week. Just use it Mythic Week. Don't use it Heroic Week. Save your Heroic coins for the later bosses. There are a ton of bosses in here that you're going to be wanting loot from. Save your coins for the later bosses unless the first bosses drop your like 5 best in slot items. Save them for Mythic Week, because you'll be killing those bosses on Mythic Week and you'll be getting the mythic variations of those pieces. However, in saying that, the bosses that you really want to be coining for Warlock, this is going to be one of them. I can't pronounce his name, but he drops a Perdition Blood Relic, which is going to be best in slot. He drops an amazing neck, he drops amazing wrists, and he also drops a really good belt. So all 4 of these pieces are really, really good, so definitely you're going to be coining this guy every single week. Another really important boss to be coining is this guy, Kin. He drops the best in slot trinket for next raid tier, aside from the legendary one. He drops this. He also drops a really good ring. So yeah, there's 2 pieces of gear off him, but the most important thing is the trinket. You really want this trinket. It's better than Arcana Crystal. It is super, super, super powerful, so want to be coining him as well. Aside from that, the obvious things are going to be tier pieces, but let's just go through the gear slots to say what's best. So in terms of neck, for the entire raid tier, you're going to be wanting to get the Haste Mastery neck. You're not going to be wanting to get many crit pieces out of this raid tier unless you have a lot of Perdition traits. You're going to be wanting to get mostly the Haste Mastery off pieces. This is one of them, this neck. There's also a good waste in here, it's going to be Haste Mastery. You can go for the Mastery crit waste here if you like. Either of those will do fine. I'll probably be looking to get the Haste Mastery one because Haste is just OP. But Crit Mastery is good as well, simply because, you know, oftentimes on multiple targets, sometimes you don't run Belt. And if you're not running Belt on multi-target, you do want more Mastery, and the Mastery Crit one will be good. So either of these you'd be happy to get. Talking about feat, definitely get this one. Mastery Haste is much better statted than the Crit Haste or the Crit Mastery one. Definitely get this one. This is probably going to be the best for all of the Warlocks. And now let's talk about rings. There are some good rings in here. The only good ones are the Haste Crit one here, and the Crit Mastery one, and the Mastery Haste one. So there's 3 good ones. I would recommend getting the ones that have Mastery on them, Mastery and Crit, Mastery and Haste, these 2. But if you get the Zealous Tormenting Ring, that's not a big deal either. So those are the off pieces. All of your main sets will be filled with tiers, so it's not really worth to talk about them. In terms of trinkets, obviously the Catalyst is amazing. The Signaling Beacon is actually quite good on AoE. If you can pick that up, it's good. But then obviously you want one of the trinkets from the last boss, Argus, as well. So there's quite a few good pieces coming out in this raid tier. There's a lot of good offset for Warlocks. There's a lot of good trinkets. The only scruple that I have with this raid tier is the tier sets itself. It sucks that tier 20 is simply better at the moment, but I do expect that to change in the following weeks. So hopefully this helped you, give you guys an idea of what you should be looking to do next week, what sort of gear you should be looking to get. Thanks for watching. Hopefully you guys like this video, and I'll be trying to come out with a video regarding talents this weekend. I know a lot of you guys want to know what talents you should be using on each boss. I haven't actually tested any of the bosses yet, so I don't really know what the bosses are like, but I think I can go and maybe watch some guides on the bosses, and then just by watching the guides I can probably figure out what talents we'll be running next week, because Warlock tends to be pretty straight cut in terms of the bosses and what talents you run. So thanks for watching. I'll see you guys later, and hopefully this gives you a good idea of what to look for next raid tier as an Affliction lock. Peace out, boys.